Okay, so the third way that we need to talk about graphing is graphing in point-slope form. Okay, point-slope form is our last form of graphing linear equations. Okay, point-slope form, just like all the others, has a general form. It says y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. My students tend to think that this is the most complicated formula. Okay, but I really think what just happens is this formula just is longer. So students think it's more complicated, but it doesn't require any more work than the other ones. Okay, keep in mind that you can use your notebook. Okay, when it comes to like state testing, like your I-STEP test, right? In previous trimesters, we've looked at this form. Okay, this has point-slope form on it. So I usually tell my students the bigger piece sometimes is just making sure you have the right formula, right? Just look, see what that formula is. Make sure you have it. Okay, if you know you're using the right formula, then it's not any more complex than the other formats. Okay, in point-slope form, we can find two things, just like we've been able to find two things in all the other forms. Okay, this was not creatively named, so it is called point-slope form. So we can find a point, and we can find a slope. Okay, just like it has been, slope is still going to be represented by the letter M. So whatever is sitting in front of those parentheses is going to be our slope. Okay, a point is an ordered pair, so it should make sense to us that this is in the order it's in. Okay, a point is x1, comma y1. Sorry, I'm sort of making this a dramatic comma because this x sub 1 comma y sub 1 is what numbers we're using in the formula. So other than learning a couple location pieces, there's no math that you have to do to find the important information. Okay, you just need to know that your x is at the very end, but it comes first in your ordered pair, whereas the y is at the beginning and it comes second in the ordered pair. Okay, but I think it's just, we should know that an ordered pair is always x comma y. So the number sitting by the x is your x, and the number sitting by the y is your y. Okay, the larger piece that my students miss with point-slope form is that these have subtraction signs in front of it. Okay, which means that subtraction is part of the formula, not part of the value that we want to identify as our x sub 1 and our y sub 1. Okay, so when we are finding these values, we are always going to have to take the opposite sign. So if it looks positive, we're going to have to make it negative, and if it looks negative, we're going to have to make it positive. Okay. So let's say I have y minus 2 equals 1/2 times x minus 7. Okay, this is given to us in point-slope form, which means we can find a point and we can find a slope. So if we want to find the slope in this equation, what does our m equal? What number is sitting in front of the parentheses? 1/2. And so our slope is going to be 1/2. Okay, our point is going to be an ordered pair, right? So we know we need it to be an x comma y. Again, where the x value comes first. So whatever is sitting with the x is our x value. So this looks like a -7, but what are we going to write it down as? We're taking the opposite sign, so if it looks negative, what are we going to do? Positive. Make it positive. So this looks negative, but I'm going to write a positive. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my y value. So this looks negative, so I'm going to make it a positive. Right, so from that equation, we can see that the slope is going to be 1/2, and we are going to have the point 7, 2. Okay, so how about y plus 4 equals 2 times x minus 3? Okay, what's our slope going to equal? Two, right? It's always the number in front of the parentheses. So our slope is going to be 2. Okay, for our point, again, we're taking the opposite sign. So our x value looks like a -3, so we're going to write down a +3. Our y value looks like a +4, so what are we going to write down? A -4. I mean, it doesn't get much more complicated than that. We don't have too many weird ones happening here. It's not super common to see this in point slope form, but let's just say we have a really weird one. Right, what number would be sitting here in front of the parentheses? 1. Again, that's not common because we could easily then write that in slope-intercept form, but whatever. Okay, so what's our x value going to be?
-6.
+6, because it's the opposite sign. And what's our y value going to be? -7. So like I said, other than sort of that sign piece, it's still just identifying those values. Okay, and the good news is that we then graph in point slope form the exact same way that we graphed in slope intercept form. So if we were okay in slope intercept form, we're really not going to be any different. So if we want to graph, oh, that's not going to work. Y minus 3 equals 1/2 times x plus 2. Right, guys, here's the rules. I need you to graph 1 in your notes for me. And then we're going to go to board markers and erasers, so you have that there. But I want 1 in your notes, so you have one to look at come quiz time, final exam time, right? So draw yourself a little graph. Make a little x and y axis. It doesn't need to be perfect, enough that you could tell what's going on. So if you forgot and you needed a reminder, you would have a problem you could go back and look at. Okay, so if we look at this, what does m equal? What does our slope equal? 1/2. Okay, so just like we did in slope-intercept form, we'll identify our important information first. Okay, like it's what we do in every form, right? We'll find our point. So what's our point on this one? -2. +3 is excellent. Okay, we are then going to plot the point. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit easy to trick yourself here. I didn't make up the rules, right? You know my rule, I blame boys because girls weren't allowed to make up math then. So if the point is -2, 3, right? An ordered pair, we plot horizontal and then vertical. So we're going -2, +3. Okay, then from that point, we are going to count rise over run. Remembering that our rise over run comes from our slope. Okay, so not from the origin, not from anywhere else. From this point, we're going to do rise over run. And your slope is the reverse order, right? Slope is up and down and then right and left. Okay, so from this point, we are going to go up 1, over 2, just like we did in slope-intercept form. Okay, it's just that now we're counting from a point instead of counting from a point that happens to be on the y-axis. Okay, just like we've been saying, we could count again. Either way, that's our line.